Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Yeah, Oklahoma.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, that's it seems okay. It seems
Oklahoma. Anyway.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
My name is David Bell.
My name is Tom Ryman.
And we just watched Killers of the Flower Moon, starring teen heartthrob John Lithgow.
Move, said the great white father. There are many, so many hungry wolves. Can you find the wolves in this picture?
Yeah, all the Swifties in my theater, which was full of Swifties, really cooed when Lithgow came on screen.
Oh, yeah.
They love their
Fucking
gals,
beast.
they call themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Lithgals.
Lithgows. Oh, we got it.
We got there.
All right. Well, hi, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, that was... Sorry, I didn't know John Lithgow was going to show up in this. I knew Brendan Fraser was.
I did, but I had forgotten. I had forgotten about Brendan, too, until he's just explodes into the scene. You're like, oh, fuck,
yeah,
right,
does.
there he is.
It's like, oh, shit. But Lithgow was the one that made me like, pop. Oh, it's so good.
Fraser.
He's doing a thing, and I like what he's doing. Some people,
is.
he got some. This movie, for some reason, people are very like flustered. I don't know word for it, because it's like there's a lot of like people mad at the movie and a lot of people not mad about like multiple things. And one of them was Brendan Fraser's performance. And he's fine. He's doing the thing. He's doing
a thing. Yeah.
I love every time a new actor shows up in a Martin Scorsese, because you know they're so excited, right? Like if you're Jesse Plemons, who has he been in a Scorsese yet?
I think so, but I'm not positive.
He definitely has a bingo card with Scorsese on it.
And maybe he hasn't. I honestly I can't remember off the top of my head right now. Scorsese has a lot. I actually have only seen about half of his movies. There's like a lot of Scorsese movies that I haven't seen. He does. He really does. He should stop that.
Yeah. But like, like in between takes, someone has to like breathe into a bag because they're doing a Scorsese film in a scene with Robert De Niro. Like that's huge. That's going to be huge. What'd you think of this movie?
I liked it. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, me too. I mean, here's the thing. It's almost like, of course, like Scorsese has never made a movie that I didn't at least like, where it's like,
I think that's true.
Every time I walk out of a Scorsese movie, I'm like, man, he really makes good movies, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I always like his movies.
Of the ones I've seen, I think my least favorite is either Wolf of Wall Street or Shutter Island. It's probably Wolf of Wall Street, because I think I like Shutter Island more. I like Shutter Island because
I thought he could do a mean horror. It's a dumb plot.
That's the only thing. The only problem with Shutter, it's the filmmaking is great. I love how he made it. It's just the story itself is very, very rote. Like it's very predictable.
Yeah.
It's a story we've seen a bunch of times before.
Same with Wolf, where it's like it's well made. It's just I didn't care about this fucking dude. Mean Streets bores me a little bit. That's early. That felt early. I guess
it is early,
like it felt like he hadn't quite figured that out yet. Like Mean Streets was probably before a few. I don't know. So this is about a true story that I didn't look into because I wanted to be fucking horrified, and I was. I'd been reading.
I'd been reading the book. I'm not through it yet. And also, over at Ranker, we had done a weird history script on it.
Oh, word. Yeah, I don't know what.
So I was familiar with the broad details, the broad strokes of it.
I don't know how true everything is, but we're just going to judge it as a movie.
From what I've read, it's pretty. The factual stuff is pretty accurate from what I've read.
Yeah,
from what I've read of the case,
I wouldn't be surprised. It fits a pattern, of things honkies did to Native Americans. So, but it's in Oklahoma, an Osage Nation.
Osage, I think.
Osage
is how it's pronounced in the film.
Yeah, they talk with such fucking accents. And we got Leonardo DiCaprio. He's a weird little creep guy. He's a frowny little man.
He's such a little creep. He's such a creep boy.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love. You could, man. Leo gets so excited when he gets to play weird little freaks.
Yeah, I know. He's so good.
He's so happy he gets to play this weird little freak man.
Yeah, basically,
he's just a rotten, pathetic character.
Right. And they're running a honeypot is what they're running. Yeah. Basically, all of these...
Well, it's a succession crime is what it is. They're just murdering all of the... Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, no, there's these honkies are coming in, these handsome honkies, and the Native American women, basically this area... hit by oil, so they're very wealthy. And I'm only explaining this because you don't really actually get this out of the trailer, which I appreciate. The trailer made it look like a turf war or something, but it's actually more like a serial killer movie.
Oh, yeah. No, what it is basically they were pushed onto this land in Oklahoma that was supposed to be worthless. Like, that nothing grew there. It was arid. But it just so happens there was oil beneath there. Can't
have that.
Yeah, whoops for the U.S. government. But so and the way that it works is basically full-blooded members of the tribe. Everything gets split equally. So they were selling or leasing the land that had oil on it so that people could come in and build derricks and stuff, companies and whatnot, and getting all of this money from that. And all of that money got divided among every member of the tribe to the tune of like thousands of dollars a month, which back then was in the millions. So it was like they showed a little title card at the beginning of the film, but apparently the people, the tribe, the Osage tribe living in this area at this time were like the wealthiest people per capita, meaning per member of this tribe in the entire world. So all these fucking honkies come in to take it from them.
Yeah, and they take it by basically marrying these women and then like systematically killing their family. Yeah. So that they get the money, they become part of the tribe essentially.
I'm not laughing.
They insure it.
I'm not laughing at the event. I'm laughing at how obvious it is. It's just. Oh yeah. It's just and that's what's a part that also kind of elicited laughter from me, but like ironic, like oh gee, of course, like in the film, like as soon as the FBI shows up, like as soon as actual investigation starts poking into it falls apart immediately. It's like Trump. It's so Trumpian. It's like such an obvious crime with the lid. You pull out the littlest string on it, it all comes crumbling down.
It's like a Jerry Springer episode, but on a high crimes, Yeah. And that is very Trump. And it's also I have to talk about this because it's very. They never pointed out the idea. It's very funny that there are a few, just a couple ghouls. It's the internet, so I would take it with a grain of salt. Being like, oh, it's his first like woke movie or like political movie, and it's very funny because it's have you not seen his other movies?
That's not a serious argument that even needs to be addressed.
Exactly. But it's just funny because this isn't like in your face about it at all. But it's when you think about, there's this idea of projection that happens a lot with like racists. And you kind of see it because I always think about the great replacement theory that racists have. That's what they're doing. They're actually doing it in this, the fantasy.
Yes.
They're trying to like the thing that like they're scared, racists are scared that like immigrants do, which they don't. But it's like projection because like it's clear that they're like, well, that's what we would do because that's what they did.
Yeah.
That's what basically this comes down to, is they are literally trying to replace the Native American culture in this area by marrying them and then murdering them so that they're the only people that are left.
And then taking over the telling of the story, which I think has also
that was a great ending.
Yeah, which has also been a point of discussion, and I've seen some interview clips and read some thoughts that different, I think, people from the tribe, like tribal representatives that had either been consulted on the film or who were invited to watch the film when it premiered, had thoughts about this, complicated thoughts about this nature of it. But I think the meta aspect of it is intentional, because there was a little bit of controversy about the fact that the story is told from Leonardo's character's point of view, who is Ernest Burkhart, who's the guy that marries Molly, who's kind of the real person who's at the center of the story.
Right.
But it's because the movie, and they talk about this a lot, it's a theme they talk about how, I forget which character says it, but at one point, I think it's De Niro says, it's like, no, everybody's going to forget about this. Like, it'll become a crime that people it gets talked about. It'll be like a big shameful thing that's in the papers for a couple of weeks, and then they'll tell each other about it and kind of shake their heads, and then they'll forget about it. So it's a theme that it's like directly wrestling with this idea of like, not only was this an injustice that was perpetrated by white people, so then they also took over the telling of it, which is, so it's like, does that make sense? Am I making sense?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, no.
So it's like the fact that Scorsese himself is a white guy making this movie, he's a white man telling the story even still. So he's telling it through the point of view of Leo, but it's done in a very, it's a complicated decision, but anyway, go, please.
I fully understand. So we're cutting right to the end because this isn't really a spoiler. So you know when a movie does the thing where it fades out and they get the text saying like, here's what happened to the characters in this true story. This movie does that in the form of a radio play, like decades later.
Which is a real show, and they really did an episode. That was a real episode of a real radio show.
Oh, nice.
I mean, we see a reenactment of it. They don't play the actual recording.
But it was based off... Yeah, and it's a radio play that did it about what happened. And it's all white guys. They very purposefully have a white guy do the Native American guy voice.
Yep.
And it's done on purpose. They know what they're doing. And then the final person to come up and say the ending is played by Scorsese. Martin Scorsese, the director, gets on stage and finishes the radio play.
But it's
very meta.
I wanted to pause really quick to interject and just say that's his own addendum, I think, or I'm not sure, because there's parts of it that the radio play couldn't have known at the time that it aired. So, I'm not sure how much I'm not sure if the radio play actually contained the part that Scorsese read or not.
Sure.
But anyway.
Oh, for sure. But it's not a documentary.
No.
But what they're pointing out is exactly what you're saying. Is that, and then the white people took over the story, including this guy who's directing and co-wrote this film.
Exactly.
And I think when you go about like Scorsese, where it's like who should make this film, it might have been a situation where it was like no one was trying to make this film but Scorsese. That's one scenario, right? Is like maybe it's just like this wouldn't have gotten told if it didn't have slap Leonardo DiCaprio on it, and you make it the biggest thing, so people can hear the story.
I know he personally got really interested in this book specifically. Killers of the Flower Moon is a nonfiction book that was published in 2017. So he kind of like he's been pretty much attached to the project since then. I'm almost positive it's been many years. He's commented in interviews recently.
Here's the other flip side to it, and it's an interesting idea that I don't think. So Scorsese tends to make, he made movies about Italians, right? He made movies about certain eras and certain people, and he does this
a lot of like second generation immigrants too.
Yeah, but like what struck me about this movie is it kind of reminded me of Goodfellas because it's about a guy flipping on a mob that he's with. So it's not out of line for Scorsese to tell this story because all of his stories, Wolf of Wall Street, it's all about bad people doing bad things, and suffering
it,
consequences.
To tell it this way from Ernest's point of view, because the way that he tells it is it's kind of like they include this line in the trailer, and it becomes a motif of the film. But it's Leo is given a children's book essentially about the Osage people to read, which is part of an incredible scene. It's like one of the first scenes in the film where he comes in and meets De Niro for the first time, and their relationship is just immediately clear. Where like the first thing De Niro does is have him call him King. It's like, call me Uncle. Oh, you remember how you used to call me King when you were a kid? Call me King. And there's like this brief silence. He's like, yep, let me call you King. Oh, okay, King.
Okay.
Whereas it's clear, like Leo was in the war, but he was a cook. So it's like, well, he's either, there's an implication that he maybe just either wasn't competent enough, and then we get, he's barely literate. He doesn't really have. He has no drive, which ironically is why Molly wants to marry him, because somebody points out, well, he only wants your money, and she's like, well, yeah, but he also doesn't want anything. He just wants to be settled down, and that's fine with me. I enjoy him. He amuses me.
I appreciate that they made the Native American women not at all naive about what was happening.
No.
Like, they get fooled to some extent because
they get manipulated. Leo's gaslighting her. The thing,
exactly.
The thing that I was building to is that it's it's slowly revealed like the layers of the lies that he's been telling himself. But anyway, it's the motif of the film. I'm sorry, I forgot that thread that I was on, that I was talking about is, can you see the wolves in this picture? And it's from the book he's reading. And as soon as Leo's narration is narrating himself reading the book, but as soon as it hits that passage, because he's reading the caption of an illustration in the book, can you see the wolves in this picture? Pans up to him and his brother going out to mug some of the Indian people to steal their jewelry, and then they go and gamble it at the saloon. And then throughout the rest of the movie, there's kind of this gradual where it's like you kind of sort of immediately know De Niro's bad, like you're immediately suspicious of him. But like as the movie progresses, it's not only is it the layers of Ernest's own involvement in the conspiracy, but you're also seeing the fact that everyone in the town is involved in the conspiracy. Like it gradually reveals like the fucking mortician's involved, the doctors are in on it, the representative guy that doles out their money for them is in on it. Like every single white person in the town is just about is in on it. It's not just that it gradually does it; it casually does it. Yes, very casually, and gradually. But you get to a point where you're like, wait, did I miss a scene? Where you're like, wait, he's there, he's involved too. And it's like there's a little bit of Freemason shit. And so you slowly realize, and they do that really good with Leo, where at first you think like, oh, his uncle's grooming him for this, but he doesn't know about it yet. He's just naive. Yeah. And then they do a scene where a guy gets beat up. And then, like, they replay that scene a little later, and they show, like, oh, yeah, Leo's there. Leo, yeah. And you're like, shit. Oh, well, you just need a, like, he gets into town, and he starts just driving a cab, and that's how he meets Molly. And then De Niro's like, hey, you know that Molly Burkhart? He's like, yeah, I know her. He's like, well, she's single. You should go see about her. He's like, you like dating her? He's like, yeah, you should see about getting settled down with her. He's like, oh, okay. So, and everything he does at his uncle's behest, and then we just see that he's like involved in it reminded me a little bit of Training Day in the sense where you keep thinking that you've hit the line of his involvement. You're like, man, he's getting in too deep, but you still are kind of like, maybe is he naive? But then it's gradually revealed, like, not only is he hiring people to murder his sisters-in-law and their husbands, and he's conspiring to murder all these other people in Molly's orbit, like her cousins and a former friend and her first husband. And then ultimately we see that he's been gradually poisoning Molly herself. Yes. So it's like he's evil. All the way in. He's completely evil, but it's just he's telling himself this lie the whole time that he's not. Exactly. And I want to go back to the question, why is he the lead character? So for starters, he is obviously, this is one of those media literacy things people have to understand. He's not the protagonist. He's actually the antagonist. He is the villain of the movie. Yeah. It's just from his perspective. Yes. Molly is the protagonist, no doubt. So why show it from his point of view? I think the character of Molly
what's her name, Burkhart, is one of the hardest ones to wrap your head around because she's very strong. Like we said, she's not naive, but she gets gaslit and tricked in this situation. And it would be very easy to be like, why aren't you seeing that he's evil? Because it goes like by the time he's in, like she's still kind of supporting him, not really, but like seeing him and talking to him and being civil when he's in jail.
She doesn't
for doing these crimes.
She gives him. I'm not sure how true this aspect of it is, but in the film, she does give him the benefit of the doubt as long as she can. So it's like she doesn't want to believe it until the very end when he tells her that final lie where she's like, "What was in the insulin that you were giving me? What was in that medicine?"
Exactly.
And he lies to her face.
And so one of the reasons to make Leo the main character and make him Leo is we have to feel gaslit.
We have to believe the lie. Yeah,
exactly. And so we're seeing the movie from Lily's perspective.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Well, we don't have to believe the lie, but for
we want redemption just as much as she does.
Just for telling the story in this way, we need to believe the lie that he's selling. To understand how. Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, because choosing a main character is an investment, right? Mm-hmm. Because you're investing in, okay, we're with this character. And so audiences want to see that character get something, some win, some redemption. That's why you choose a main character.
It's
right?
also
it's like this is the person.
It's also a very loud initial choice, right?
Yeah, we want him to do better, just like she does, and he never does. Mm-hmm. The final reason I think it's wise to make him the main character is because you could argue this is obviously a Native American story, mm-hmm. but that I feel like that's actually a cop-out. This is a white person's story in which we did something fucked up, mm-hmm. and it should be told to white people about the time we did something fucked up, right? Like, that's the thing, is like, we can tell a story and be like, yeah, we're the villains of this story. That doesn't mean we're all villains, but it's important to tell those stories too. So like,
yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah. So like, for all the reasons, that's why, like you said, it's complicated, right?
Yeah.
Because Native American people, they don't get their stories told nearly enough. And that's a problem. But in a vacuum, in a world where like we're telling all stories equally, I see the value in telling this story from this perspective, right?
Yeah.
And it was very wise for Scorsese to consult a lot of Native Americans and stuff to make sure he's doing it right, you know? But this is almost like it's a parable for like for the people who would most typically go to see Scorsese films, like dudes who like crime movies and shit, you know? I think it was advertised that way too. It's like, come see, this is gonna be wild.
It was kind of advertised as a crime movie, yeah.
Yeah. In a way, I don't think Oppenheimer meant to do this, but Oppenheimer kind of does that too, where they're like, "Come see the bomb movie; it's going to be cool." And then they're like, "No, it's actually not cool."
Really intense drama is what this movie is.
So, like, I would love to see this story obviously told from a Native American perspective because, you know, that would be great. But I see why they choose to do it this way, and I think they did it carefully, recognizing the fact. In the end, who's telling the story and stuff like that. It's a fascinating movie.
Yeah. That's the other big thing that's been made a bit of a fuss about is its runtime. It's 3.5 hours long.
Yeah, I think they could have cut a half hour off that. Yeah, there
was some stuff that could have been trimmed down, but at the same time, it never felt like it was dragging to me. Like I never noticed the runtime really.
Yeah,
it's paced very well, I think.
Right. The issue isn't Scorsese. Scorsese has always made long ass movies. Casino's long. Most of his movies are long.
Yeah.
So it's more of like the world around him now has changed, and I'm like, another really long movie, huh? Like it's that feeling of like, I don't know. I think Scorsese's fine to make long movies, and I didn't feel the runtime. It was like watching a TV show back to back. Not in the format, but that feeling of like, no, I'm completely invested in every given moment.
It's just a very well acted drama.
Yeah, it is, and it didn't feel like there was like ultimately I'm like, oh, what would I cut from this? And I'm like, I don't know. Probably nothing, I guess.
Yeah,
now that you mention
who
it.
am I? Who the fuck am I? Like, I don't know.
I think once you get to the trial period, like showing the ins and outs of the trial of him, like, I'm not going to turn on him. Actually, I am. Like, you could see you could cut that down, right? You could just have him.
Yeah, but I
could just
like
abridge that stuff. I do love the scene where the community all gets together to tell him to not rat on Robert De Niro.
Yeah, it's really I don't know. I don't know if I would have cut that because it's like this is kind of the payoff, right?
Yeah.
This is when we get to watch him squirm in a trap.
Yeah, that's true. And again, one of the
and they just sell each other out. So
yeah,
like he sells them out like back and forth a couple of times. Like I think it further shows that like I think it's the first of a more not the first. But it's, I think, the loudest of the subtle hints, if that makes sense. That right. If you hadn't caught it already at this point in the film, that Leo's a big coward and doesn't believe in anything.
Yes. Yeah, he's a piece of shit.
He's a piece of shit. Yeah. He lies on the stand. He's like, no, I met my wife and fell in love with my wife all by myself. My uncle didn't have any hand in that. It's like, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
And then that leads into the big lie where she just flat out asks him, what were you giving me? And you can see that he's lying.
It's a really good...
he is sweating more than any human has ever sweat in his life when he says, it was amazing. Just insulin, babe.
You can really see, like, you mentioned like the Trump shit of it all. It really does get that vibe, which is like it has all the components. So it shows how the evil is so mundane,
right?
And it shows how it
so
takes,
mundane, and it's a bunch of idiots for the most part,
right? And it's sort of also about the idea of how like the idea of white people not getting in trouble, right? Where it's like these people are all supporting each other. The cops are in on it. Everybody's in on supporting these mediocre white guys who are not very, like, they're not smart. They're not clever. They're not at all talented.
The crimes aren't being investigated at all.
Yeah, they're just supported by white supremacy, essentially.
There's an excellent shot in that first scene of where Leo is coming home from the war and sits down to meet with De Niro, and he's telling him about, like, we're sort of getting introduced to who De Niro is. He's this big time rancher he owns a cattle ranch in the area, and he's big into the Osage. He's like an Osage weeb almost, but because he's like the most insidious. But like he talks about how he's like the deputy sheriff or the reserve sheriff. And it's just a low angle. It cuts to a low angle shot of his gun belt and his badge hanging on the wall, like way far behind him. And it was just like a perfect statement about who he is, where it's like he's the reserve sheriff, but not because the title means anything to him or the office means anything to him. It's a trump card, pardon the pun, he keeps in his back pocket, right? It's just It's just a thing he has, so he has that juice. It just hangs on his wall. It's a trophy he has.
So they're so mediocre. And as you mentioned, this is one of my favorite performances, even though he doesn't have to do much, is Jesse Plemons. Because he's being a real Jesse Plemons type.
Real Jesse Plemons, like arch Jesse Plemons in this film.
And the way they handle the FBI, and it's weird because the FBI have to be kind of depicted a little heroic. But what they do, they don't. Well, that's what it is they actually make them very matter of fact, which is that Jesse Plemons comes in and he's not emotionally invested in any of this. Later, when he has them both, he's not like, I gotcha. He's very professional the whole time, and so is all the FBI. So a bunch of very serious people come in and just go, what's happening? And these people just fall apart because the FBI, all they're being is halfway competent. They're the first law enforcement that's come in. The whole movie, they've been trying to like prevent the Native Americans, the tribe, from getting to any help from the outside. That's the whole idea.
Oh yeah.
And they finally do it. And so, that's when the FBI, well, they're not the FBI, they're the Bureau of Investigation at this point.
Yeah, but it's the FBI.
Yeah, it's the FBI. And they're just so like, they just like bring in Leo and they're like, you said this, this, and this, and this person and that. And he's like, I don't know. And they're like, well, let's bring him in. And they just like bring him in. And they just keep bringing the people in and having them face each other. Like, you said this and you said that. Yep. So what happened? And they're not crooked. They're not like mean. They're not emotional. They don't care. that's the thing, is they're just doing a job, and you can tell, and that's all it takes for this group to just crumble.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it feels very Trumpian, where it's this idea of like these grifters kind of using emotion and their privilege to get by, and the moment they're put under just a little bit of scrutiny, it just topples in a very satisfying way.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, feels very Scorsese, because that is a lot of Scorsese. There's literally a scene in this where Leo's on the stand and has to point to De Niro, and I couldn't help but to think of fucking Ray Liotta.
Ray Liotta, yeah.
Yeah.
Pointing at De Niro.
Yeah.
Yes,
De Niro,
pointing at De Niro. And at Paul Sorvino.
Yeah. And so like it's very similar. Like it's a very Scorsese film through and through.
Yeah.
The difference is the violence is a lot more like
much more muted.
It's more muted in a way that makes it even more terrifying, which is like, it's not, there's a few like mob hit style hits.
Right, but it's
I
not,
assume because this actually happened, but it's more of like fucking Leo slowly poisoning his wife.
Yeah.
Like this really like,
it's not explosively violent or gory in the way that like Goodfellas or Casino occasionally is. It's just like,
right.
Yeah.
And you know what the difference is? Goodfellas and Casino and stuff. Like, did you notice? I don't think there's any Leonardo DiCaprio voiceover.
No, there is.
Maybe there is.
There's brief bits of narration when he's reading the book,
but it feels like it's mostly Lily Gladstone's voiceover, because I felt like it was mostly her perspective, even though we're following Leonardo DiCaprio's character.
We get a couple it shifts because we get a couple of lines from her, and then randomly we get a couple of lines from that guy. I forget his name, but he's that old shit kicker with the scar on his face.
Oh, yeah.
Who shoots her first husband after like befriending him and becoming his drinking buddy for months. He gets a bit of VO too. So it kind of reminded me of like in Casino where Frank Vincent randomly gets like 2 lines of VO. Right.
But what I was going to say is Scorsese loves VO, and he often uses it to sort of speak the truths of the situation. So like if you look at Casino or if you look at Goodfellas, the characters we're watching aren't good people, but we hear their justifications very often, and you can even choose to agree with some of their justifications. At the end of Casino, he's like, it's all commercialized now, and they still fuck you over. They just fuck you over a different way. And you're like, yeah, you're right. Like, there's always been this, like...
Joe Pesci wasn't that bad. It's like, no, he crushed a man's head in a vice.
Right. When they do the mob movie stuff, he always kind of gives the mob a voice to, like, almost defend themselves. He doesn't do that when it comes to like De Niro never has his defense. Because they are indefensible, and he knows that. So like that's a key component
we do still have it, but it's not VO. So it's
less. It's not them. Yes. And it's not them. Yeah. They're not pleading to us. They're not.
It's less persuasive for the audience. Exactly. So they are still showing the how Leo is rationalizing this, but we're seeing it play out in a scene rather than hearing him narrate. Like, I see what you're saying, like in the scene where they convince him to just start adding a little bit of this to your wife's insulin just to slow her down. Like you could picture that scene in like a Goodfellas, some Ray Liotta come around. I was just giving her a little bit just to, take the edge off so she wouldn't be bugging me as much, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
But in this scene, we're just seeing him like surrounded by his uncle and all these people, and he's just like sweaty and looking like shit. And they're like, I just gave your wife this poison. And he's like, well, I guess I should probably give my wife this poison, right? If it's going to slow her down, right? If it's going to slow her down. And it's all in the performance rather than just him like narrating to us what his rationalization is.
A lot of Scorsese's style in this isn't making light of it. And it's drawing a hard moral line more than his other movies.
Yes.
And I think it's because he doesn't fucking empathize with these fucking honkies who did this horrible thing. Like, you can tell he's like, no, fuck these people.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think with mob movies, and this might be a fault, honestly, with mob movies, he's a little more cheeky. He'll play a little more fun music with it. He's a little more fun.
He's more indelicate with it.
Exactly. And he'll be like, let's hear from the mobsters what they have to say about this. And even at the end of Goodfellas, he's like, I was a rat anyway. There's a lot more tongue in cheek, I guess, or not. But you've sort of already said it, and it's just interesting to see him handle this. Is like, I think that's part of it. Is he didn't Wolf of Wall Street this? He wasn't like, you gotta love Leo. It was like, no,
he sucks.
This is serious. This guy sucks.
Yeah,
we're not at all going to make them seem like fun characters that we empathize with at all. Wes, we're gonna follow them. But we're not following them. We're not condoning them in any way through his style.
There's one of the biggest gut punches is when I think it's a flashback we see it's during the trial where they're telling the story of how they murdered Molly's sister.
Yeah.
And the flashback of it's Leo's brother and another guy that they hired. And in the flashback, they're like, so what did Byron, who's Leo's brother, what did Byron do after you guys murdered Anna, who's Molly's sister? And they said, well, Byron just went back home to Molly's house, and it shows him coming in and crashing on the bed, and then fucking Molly comes up and gives him a pillow. It basically tucks him in and says, and he's like, thank you, Molly. He says, good night. He says, good night, Molly. And it's like, he just murdered her sister.
Right.
And she's tucking him in. It's
incredible. They have a part where all the elders are having a meeting. The whole tribe is having a meeting, and like De Niro is right there in the meeting. And they don't even, they're talking about these white people are killing us.
Dave,
and we need to do something.
Can I pause real quick? That part, actually, I chuckled a little bit when they reveal, like when it cuts over to Niro's like, I want to add $1,000 to the fund. Because all I could think of was him in a hot dog suit saying, we got to find out who did this.
They should have just put him in a hot dog suit in the whole...
He basically was.
Yeah.
Narratively speaking, he was in a hot dog suit.
Right.
Scene.
Because again, it's also like this can happen to anybody. And that's what people hate, is that like everybody can make the mistake of trusting, because what else are we to do?
What are you supposed to do? Go through. Yeah, obviously. Yeah. And so like, there's this element of like, they're not naive. They know there's white people killing them from the outside. The one miscalculation they make is they didn't realize how close these people were, or how many
because they're moral people, and they don't or how many. Yeah, it's like body snatchers. It's that idea of like, surely it's not everybody's out to get you, and it's like, no, it was the whole town just conspiring against you to try to siphon your money. And it's like it's just. It's frustrating to watch, and it is almost comical, because you're like, Jesus Christ. But the joke isn't on the Native American characters, because it's like...
No, the joke is how shameless.
Yeah, she's talking about, she's sitting there all paranoid, and she's like, we only get food from this person. Like, she gets more and more paranoid in the movie. Lily Gladstone.
Yeah, and it's brutal. Like
as she's getting more paranoid, she's still getting her insulin shots from Leonardo,
right? Because he's her husband. Like, what she's
exactly.
Yeah, and it's
she can't fathom it.
It's
Why
brutal.
would she?
Yeah, she still trusts him because he's gaslighting the shit out of her.
Yeah. What do you think of the performances?
Oh, man.
I mean, Leo is Leo.
Like top to bottom, they're great.
Yeah, Lily Gladstone's was
great.
Really good. Her character is, it's interesting because she doesn't get, her whole character is quiet pain, and that's a really challenging role that I think she nailed, but I'm scared it's not going to get her that like the recognition, because it's not a loud performance.
But I thought it's not just quiet pain. It's a lot of
quiet rage too.
Quiet amusement. Like it's just like she has a tight hold on her emotions, so they don't ever get very big, and it's sort of like she's always wearing that wrap very tightly most of the time, which apparently, from what I read, was a detail of the real life Molly.
Interesting.
But so like in the scenes where like Leo's running the honeypot, where he's sweet talking her, like the way she's. Like it kind of is. There kind of are charming scenes, like where she's like, he's being a big goofus, and she's just kind of amused by him.
It's very there's scenes where it's like straight up romantic comedy, where you're like, oh, I like these two.
Yeah, you see why she likes him.
Yeah, he's good. I think with Leonardo DiCaprio, the key to his character is like any given scene, it's like he doesn't remember the things he did. Like he's so gaslighty that it's like you watch these scenes, you're like, wait, yeah, did those scenes happen?
I wouldn't
be
acts
so
I
innocent.
wouldn't be surprised if that was like a direction or or like a thought that I wouldn't be surprised if that, because that's like it's so like how easily two-faced he is in this. Because they keep calling, at one point they even keep calling him a snake, like when she first brings him around and her sisters are all like, oh, he just wants your money, look, he's a snake. But then they start calling him a coyote, and that's kind of sort of how the movie wants you to think of him, or how like kind of like Leo is trying to think of himself as sort of like, yeah, he's a predator, he's loping, but he's kind of an obvious predator, and ultimately, like, you know what he's about. He's not like, he's like what she said about him. Oh yeah, I know he wants my money, but also he doesn't really want anything, or he has no ambition. He just wants to sit and be settled. But he actually he's actually a snake, is what we find out.
Yeah, the revelation, they never say it.
Yeah.
Is that, oh no, he's a snake.
He's a snake.
And you just, at some point in the movie, you're thinking that. You realize that yourself, and they don't have to say it, which I really liked.
He blows up her fucking sister's house.
Yeah, he sure does.
He blows it up.
And he's such a good liar. Again, he acts shocked when all these things happen.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't personally do it, but he hires the guy to do it, and he knows it's going to happen, and he plants the bomb, and he has to pretend to be surprised. It's so depraved. Like that's what's like.
It's dirtbag. They're dirtbag.
It's such scumbaggery that it reaches the level of like where it's almost funny. I don't want to say funny, but where you're almost laughing because you're like, Jesus fucking Christ! Like how blatant can this be?
Well, it's one of my favorite crime tropes that doesn't get explored enough, and it does in some movies, which is that like evil people aren't necessarily masterminds. They aren't smart necessarily. We're learning that more and more.
Silence of the Lambs did a lot of damage with that.
Yeah,
where it's like, we think,
most serial killers are kind of dumbasses.
Right, they're these dirt bags. They're not like these erudite, like well-read, compelling, like seductive figures. They're fucking scumbags.
Yeah, they're not Dracula. It's actually remarkably easy to kill people.
Well, actually, Dracula's not even Dracula. Like if in the original text of Dracula, like Bram Stoker's Dracula, he's a scumbag. Oh, he sucks, Dave.
He really sucks.
Pun, but anyway.
But yeah, this movie kind of touches upon that, where you realize like these guys kind of suck. The part that gut punched me about the death of the sister was when they shoot her and then they're just silent and they just like look at each other and then they just leave.
Yep.
Because again, no, they're not. They'd have nothing quippy to say. There's nothing glamorous about any of this. Scorsese is the king of this. Like that's the thing, is he's taking all the tools that he already has, and he just uses them in a perfect. This has a little of The Departed in it. A person lying, to everybody around them. The Departed kind of ends
very
with like Matt Damon.
You're right.
Yeah, you don't like Matt Damon by the end. He's not cool. He's just kind of a coward. Like Scorsese has dealt with these types of people and this type of subject a lot. So it just made sense to me that this is a Scorsese film. It feels like it was made for him. I guess because
for him to tell it this way, for sure.
Yeah. So it is like, I think he was smart in saying like, I'm going to make sure the Native American characters aren't just a NPC for me to tell this story about bad white people,
Yeah.
Because that's the key of it, is that it is Molly's story at the end, and it feels that way.
It's not a white savior story.
No, not at all. And it's not, even if it wasn't, it's still key for him to show like Casino, you never really see like, they never follow like a gambling addict's perspective or anything like that. It wasn't, but this, it was just as important to talk about the people being victimized.
Right.
You couldn't just yada the victim the way Scorsese could do.
Like we said, in the gangster movies, he's much more indelicate with this aspect of it, where you don't see the victims of what these people are doing, really. Yeah,
and it's kind of because like that was a big factor in this. The first scene is literally like this tribal
it's a funeral
ceremony. Is it a funeral where they're talking about how
it seems
they're killing, they're taking away our culture bit by bit, and like that is kind of the
there's
whole
a body,
point of the movie.
that there's a Yeah, I'm almost positive.
Oh, yeah. It is a funeral, yeah. But that's the whole point, you know. It's about these people stealing this culture. And so it's like, yeah, you have to talk about this culture and these people as part of it. That's a huge component. I mean, obviously, again, it's a Native American story. But yeah.
It's good, man. Good shit. Good movie.
Yeah, good John Lithgow.
Solid gal, man.
Yeah, it's
the Lithgows were pleased. Yeah. John Lithgow. You know what that is.
Gross. Yeah. Oh, I know what that is. We all know. The
primordial slime from which my children grew. Yeah, I think that's all.
All right. Yeah, this was great. Everybody should check it out. It's
very good.
Very good. Thank you all for listening. We have a Patreon.
We do.
It's patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. GAMEFULLY unemployed. For $5 a month, you get access to exclusive podcasts on there, such as Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, Spiel Boys. We watch movies every Friday night with our patrons as well. That's a whole thing. We have a bunch of tiers on there, so check it out. We have a Discord community as well. It's lovely.
Yeah. We also have a store. Head over to GameFullyUnemployed.com where you can find a link to our Teespring store where we have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs. You can get on t-shirts, mugs, stickers, posters, all sorts of things. So slap your Leonardo da Peepers onto that.
Slap your John Lithgows.
Your Lithgows.
I hate that that's the thing that's gonna that's gonna pop out of this podcast.
Way to go.
John Lithgow.
Way to go, Wes.
Yeah. You guys get it, right? Like sperm?
Yeah, that's what it was. It was cum.